Welcome to Getting Started in QuickBooks Online. My name is Tracy. I'm with 1 Hour Bookkeeping and I'm an elite ProAdvisor. Today we're going to go over the online version, so let's get started. Now we're going to get things done, as it says towards the top here. You have two different versions in here that you can view. So you can view it by the get things done, and it will show you the tasks, any bills that are overdue. It will also take you to your bank accounts, show you your profit and loss and expenses for the last month or last 30 days. It's kind of an all-in-all information center for you. One of the things that I like to go through first is setting up that bank account so it is connected in QuickBooks to your bank or savings or credit cards, and it starts downloading from the time that you actually state when you've set up your first, I guess you could say, bank account or checking account. So it will say in here, do you want to go ahead and connect your account? You'll select your bank, Wells Fargo, Chase. If not, just keep typing for it. You select your bank, and then it will take you through a process of hooking it up to the QuickBooks and then asking you how far back you want to go. So a lot of times if I'm starting from January, I'll say grab me all the bank feeds from January to now and we'll get started. What it does here is it's showing the current balance of when you updated this of the bank. So the bank here is showing a negative $3,000. In my QuickBooks, I'm showing 1,201, which tells me there's 25 transactions that still need to be entered into my live checking. So when you go in and you actually select the date range, it will populate all the transactions that went through your bank. It's not in your register yet because we still have to identify them. And what I mean identify is every time that the bank updates, it brings in the newest information that's cleared the bank, and it gives us the opportunity to do two things. One, fill out and categorize the transaction, or two, you can create rules up here that says every time you have a transaction that's books by Bessie, it's a sale of product income. So I can create rules and it can automatically enter transactions. I don't suggest to do that at the beginning, but as you get better at it, it will make your life a lot easier. But let's just look at the basic. A bank feed comes in. It is not in your register. It is not affecting your financials. But this bank feed is very important because, as a boss said to me once, only touch it once. If not, you're wasting both our time. So I took that to heart, and I try and remember that when I'm doing something such as inputting this data, if I put it all in right, I never have to do anything again to this transaction. I don't have to create an invoice. I don't have to create a bill. I don't have to go in and change the account. Everything then flows through QuickBooks, puts it in its right category, creates a history for the transaction, and then also creates your financials. So you touch it once here through the bank feed, you'll never have to touch it again. What do I mean? Here's a bank feed that came in, and I can look kind of at the bank detail. I like looking at it. Said, yeah, it was books by Bessie, right? So you can see I can put in a vendor or a customer, but I'm going to say I receive money coming in. So it's a sale of a product. I can create an attachment, a rule, and I can also see the history of this. Here is where I could split it up. Say I've got to sell a product and I needed to split it by different categories. I could split it here, or if everything's good, I would hit the word add. You'll notice below it, you'll have other items that are coming in. Some may say match. If you're doing deposits inside of your system and then you do the bank feed afterwards, it will notice and not duplicate the information. That's the only thing I've seen in here when I'm training someone is sometimes information can be duplicated because they're thinking, oh, it's not in the system. Well, a lot of times it's coming in through the bank feed and it can duplicate. So what we want to do is if it says match, you can select match. That way it won't duplicate in your system, but shows that it did clear. And then you'll see a bunch of these here with uncategorized and no payee. It's giving me a description, but more information wins. You want to make sure you have that payee in there and the category. Then it would have categorized it next time after we saved it or added it into our system. Next up, adding customers, vendors, and employees. Let's look over to the left here. Over to the left, you'll see this menu, and the menu kind of breaks it down by the type of activity. So in sales, you're going to have all your sales, invoicing, estimates, customers, products. All those are through this drop down here. You also have what we call new up here, which we'll go over in a moment, which shows all the activities that you can get to just by clicking that new. But let's stay on customers because we're in a customer center right now. And all items to do with customers kind of are up on this toolbar up here. To the right here is where it says new customer. This is where I can add that. I wanted you to look at the customer. You can look at the unbilled, last 365 days, unpaid, 20 open invoices, and then there were 12 paid in the last 30 days. Just a little bit of information here. And then down here is where you have your customers, and it will have their phone numbers, addresses, opening balance. You can drill down on all those customers as well. So let's look at a customer. What does it need? It needs the name, company name, street address, and same as billing. You can add a default tax rate for them as well, put in their opening balances. But there are a lot of things. This is the main information just to get started. If you just put in a name, you're good to go. A lot of times we want to get the email in there because we'll be emailing invoices to customers. And now let's just look at it as we go down. We're looking at expenses and vendors. In vendors, same kind of layout, right? You will know in addition here, you can prepare your 1099s for all your vendors, but they are all alpha sitting here. And in the vendor, you just need the name to pay someone. It's always nice to get the address as well. Set up expense rates. You can put in websites. What people want to see really is if there's an account number because that will populate for this insurance agency. Employees will be going to the left again, grabbing payroll and employees, and it comes up with employees. You can also add your contractors and workman's comp. And we'll go over some of those items in the advanced class, but for an employee, it's a basic screen, their address, any government ID, hire dates, that's your social security number, date of birth, gender, and if they are, this becomes your HR. So the more information on the employee side wins as well. You can put notes, upload I-9s. Third lesson. We're going to enter items to sell, and we're also going to be looking at creating a bill and paying a bill, along with looking at employee time activity and other headers and deposits, along with journals and transfers. Back to the gear, we're going up to the left, and I want to go to products and services. So there are four options here. Inventory should mean you're going to keep a physical inventory. You're going to enter the inventory either through a bill as you purchase the product, and then you relieve it through sales when you select that item. So the item, and you'll see you've got your products and services here, will also tell you if you're low in stock on your inventory. You can set that up in the preference to show once you get to 5, start saying I'm low in stock. Then the non-inventory part, these are products you buy and sell but don't keep track of. A lot of folks may just be in the non-inventory part category because most of the time these days people are buying it for the customer at the time instead of holding large inventories anymore. But if you want to track it, use the inventory. If you're not going to track it, use the non-inventory. Third one is service. I am a service provider, and all I need to do is set up a service item to sell, to put on the invoice, and I will be able to put my hourly rate and everything in there. It will populate the current rate that I'm at. And bundling. Bundling is usually made for a product when you're using, let's just say, a table and you're putting together four legs, the tabletop, 16 screws, and you can bundle your inventory to sell that one table, and it will bundle all those into one line item for your customer to see the end product basically for that. But these are the items that you use also to receive inventory in from a purchase order. So an inventory, let's just say we're buying rock fountains. We can use a SKU if you're using SKUs in there. Um, and also you can put a picture of the item. You've got the category, which is under design, you've got fountains, and then you're calling this an inventory asset, meaning it's going to show on your balance sheet as an asset to you until you sell it. It relieves the asset and becomes a cost of goods. So the description can be kind of vague because you may have different rock fountains. So you could do rock fountain with triple waterfalls on there. But the sale price that you put in here is what's going to populate on the invoice. So if you have a lot of front office people who don't have price sheets, you would go ahead and set those prices up in here. If you fluctuate on these prices a lot, I usually don't put the price in there because I'm quoting it at a certain price. That way I would go off of my quote. And it wouldn't, when you go to pull up the invoice, it wouldn't populate this amount. And then the income account it points to. So when I sell this product, I want it to go to sales of product income, and that will then reflect on my profit and loss when I go and sell the items. You can set up the sales tax in here. It's got a really nice program to keep track of your sales tax liability, your payments, and it also produces state tax forms for you. So that's really nice. Purchasing information, when you go to purchase it, here's the cost that you should be purchasing it for. Having the costs in here mean that they're set. A lot of times they're not. So I want you to remember that it's going to take this price and sell it for that, and then also put this cost in your cost of goods. And we know since the prices are fluctuating, maybe not a good idea because it could be 130 tomorrow. The purchasing information is every time I purchase this product for a client, I'm going to go to cost of goods, right? And that's when it's relieved out of inventory and then pushes over to the cost of goods. I can also set a preferred vendor in here. With that information, like I said, there's options where I can put a quantity on hand and, start telling me I'm low and when's my reorder point. And this is where you'd set that up. Service. If I'm doing a service, concrete for the fountains, I could say concrete for fountain installation. And then I want this to point to a different income account when I sell it. And then the purchasing side of it, I want it to actually expense to purchases. This is just a service, so I'm not keeping track of any inventory, and that's why you don't see any totals for amounts here of how many of the concrete you have, which is zero.